ambassador for an organization called Change, change.org. You can visit the website. But our prime purpose is to bring about change. How many people want to bring about positive change? Yeah? And so here we're at the chat event, which is changing tomorrow, and that's what we're really keen to do. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how digital technology is enabling people to really bring about change, and how we're really living in a very fortunate time to be able to use digital technology to bring about change. How many people use the internet here? Okay. How many people don't use the internet? No one. Okay. And the power of the internet is that we're able to get a lot of information and we're able to act upon that information. In the past, we didn't have that power. When you read a newspaper, you get information, but you don't know what you can do about it, right? So, can we have the presentation now? So I want to take you through an example of some of the issues that we work with. So Change is a platform, it's an open platform that anyone can go to. You can go to the website and you can start a campaign on an issue that you are concerned about. The idea is to allow people to bring in small-scale change at their level. We live in a democracy, and in a democracy, you have the right to make things happen. The government is at your disposal. The bureaucracy is at your disposal. They are public servants who are supposed to do what you want them to do. You are the masters and they are the servants. But unfortunately, that's not what is happening right now, right? How many people want the sort of corruption that is existing in India to continue right now? How many people want to get rid of corruption? And how will you get rid of corruption in a democracy? You have to take action. Because if you stay at home and not do anything about it, these people in power will continue to use their power to make money for themselves. So, let me give you an example of how you can take that action. So let's say you have a problem. Let's say the road in front of your house is in a bad state, it's in a state of disrepair. There is someone who is responsible for that. There is a contractor who is supposed to take charge of that road and make sure that it's in a good condition. You have the right to demand that. So what we do, we follow a very simple method. You come to the site, you start a petition. You start a petition asking that contractor to make that change, and then you get people, you get your friends, you get your people in your neighborhood to join on that movement, and then we start to email that contractor, then we start to phone that contractor. We start to put pressure on that person to bring about that change. And so let me give you an example of how this has been successful. This is a screenshot of the website. Can we play the video? So this is an example of a case in Jharkhand where there were two teachers who worked in a government school. We need sound also. Can you pause this video and just make sure there's sound?
26/7/2008 से आज तक दोनों टीचरों को वेतन नहीं मिला। चलिए मैं ले चलता हूँ उन टीचरों के पास।
नंबर रहे ना जी रहे ऐसा हो गया है सभी। अरे शुरू से हम लोग को मिलना है फिर तो मिले। फिर हम एक दिन जब से ने की अच्छा साल हो गया। हम लोग ऐसा ही हो गया कि नंबर रहे ना जी रहे जिंदा लॉस बन के हम लोग रह रहे हैं।
और पास्ट टेंस मतलब होता है जो काम हम लोग का बीत चुका है, जो काम बीत चुका है। जैसे कल हम लोग स्कूल आए थे। रोज खुलता है या कभी कभी?
रोज खुलता है।
और टीचर लोग आते हैं कि नहीं?
आते हैं।
मध्याह्न भोजन मिलता है खाने के लिए?
हाँ।
ऐसे तो हम लोग 2008 से अभी तक डीसी ऑफिस में कम से कम 50 बार से भी अधिक जा चुके हैं और 50-60 लेटर से ज़्यादा दे चुके हैं, लेकिन अभी तक हम लोगों को उसका कोई भी सही ठोस जवाब नहीं मिला।
हमने पैसा पाने में वेतन पाने में कहीं थोड़ी मुश्किल नहीं आ रहा। हम लोग आज लोग इतना उम्मीद मौज करते हैं राम लड़े या और तो चिक करते हैं चला बोना लाए तो दवा चेती में राम चाहिए या फिर बात में सब मुश्किल।
इस बीमारी के चलते न कहीं कुछ काम धंधा नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, ना हाजिरी काम करने जा पा रहा हूँ, क्योंकि डर लगता है किस तरह गिर जाऊंगा तो मैं जी नहीं पाऊंगा।
हस्बैंड है वो बाहर चले गए हैं काम करने के लिए, करीब 2 महीना हो रहा है। अभी तो मैं अकेले हूँ और अकेले होने के कारण भी बहुत हमें स्थिति सामना करना पड़ रहा है। ऐसे भी मेरे बच्चे हैं जो बहुत छोटे हैं।
हजारीबाग जिला के चेहरी पंचायत अंतर्गत चिराखप गाँव स्कूल तो मिला, लेकिन उसमें कार्यरत 2 टीचरों को वेतन नहीं मिल रहा है। आप सबों से निवेदन है, इन पदाधिकारियों को मोबाइल नंबर 9431 14 19 43 पर कॉल कर दबाव बनाने का कोशिश करें। मैं चुनू हंसदा, हजारीबाग झारखंड से इंडिया अर्ट के लिए।
So this was made by a group. This was made by a group called Video Volunteers, and Video Volunteers is this really amazing NGO that goes out into the most remote parts of India and makes videos of problems that people are facing and brings that to light. Now they put this up on the site, and video. Hundreds of people started calling this district collector, and he got freaked out because he had never faced public pressure. As you saw in the video, they said these 2 teachers who had been diligently, dedicatedly teaching for 4 years without pay used to go every month to the district collector's office with these letters, and they used to not get any attention. But with hundreds of people calling this guy, his cell phone was going on non-stop. He couldn't take it anymore, and in a month he had made sure that everything was done to make sure that these teachers got paid for all their backlog payments and get training to continue to teach in this school. Can you play the next video? And here's what the teachers had to say about that.
पहले तो वीडियो वॉलंटियर परिवार के सभी सदस्यों को मैं दिल से धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि मेरे समस्या को अपना मानकर मुझे साथ दिए हैं। हम लोग को 18 महीने का पेमेंट किया गया है, 90,000 रुपया बनाए हैं।
और जो इस वीडियो को देखकर जो लोग सीधा अपील को हम लोग का दुख दर्द उनको बताएं, उनको मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करती हूँ।
जिला उपायुक्त को भी मैं याद करूँगा, क्योंकि इसी के बदौलत आज मुझे ये हासिल हुई है, इसलिए उसको मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ।
So that was the outcome of just a few hundred calls to that district collector. And this is just one example of hundreds of cases of injustice across India that is happening. We have so many problems. We have poverty, we have child employment, we have discrimination against women. There are so many issues in this country, but each of us has the power to tackle them. And that's what I want to encourage you people to do. Imagine if these people who live in a village with no access to internet were able to have their lives changed. How many people can you mobilize? How many friends do you have on Facebook who you can get to back you on your cause? How many people here want to change something? You have a personal cause that you want to change? Well, so I'm encouraging you to take action and be able to change that. So I just want to take you very quickly through some key elements on what made this successful. So how did they win? The first thing they did was they communicated their story well. And this is one of the key things. It's no use telling people data. A lot of times, we think that, okay, let's say that there are X number of teachers in India who haven't received their salary for so long, but that data doesn't really connect to people. You need to tell a human story, and that's what this video did. How many people really felt the pity for those teachers after seeing those videos? Yeah, so that's what this video did. So creating that content that you can express that story is really important. So think about the problem that you want to tackle. How can you express that in a way that is emotional, in a way that will connect to other people? Then you need a clear demand. what is the problem that, and what are you asking people to do? So when you see the problem, what is the solution to that problem? So the solution, the change that you want to make is the demand that you have. And then what is that, who is the target? The target is basically the person in authority who can make the change. This is where you need to do some research to see who is the person in authority who can make the change. A lot of time we find people who come to the site, they target the president or the prime minister. Now, most often, the president or the prime minister is the worst target because they have too much to deal with and they don't really care. You know, the prime minister is really more concerned about defending his government over the coal scam right now than worrying about a small issue at your local level. But there is someone in government at the local level who is responsible. And that's the person you need to target. So finding that target is important. And then sharing it with your friends and family and getting them to share it. And getting them to put pressure on this target to bring about that change. That's what a democracy is. And these are people who we vote, who are, okay, some of you may not have voted yet, but these are people who are accountable to us as public. So those are the key things. Building a campaign, reiterating, you need to have your problem statement. What do you want to change? Then you need to have a solution. What is the answer to that problem? What is the change that you want to bring about? Who is the target? Who has the power to bring about that change? What does that target need to do? What is your demand? How can you mobilize public pressure around that? How can you get more people involved? And then finally, how can you escalate that public pressure where needed? How can you get media involved? Do you know someone can you call up your local newspaper office and ask them, tell them about the issue? And if you present it interestingly enough, they report it. Do you have friends in the media? Even better. You're even more likely to be successful in that. Can you get the number of the official that you're targeting? Office number at the least. If you get a cell phone number, great, because then you have a lot of people putting pressure on them to bring about that change. Can you do events? Can you organize, whether some people do something as simple as a candlelight vigil or some form of protest. It could just be an event where people come together and discuss about the issue in a public space. Think about it creatively. So this is basically what it takes to build a campaign. These are the basic principles, and this is what I wanted to share with you so that you guys can go out and bring about the change that you want to see in the world. Thank you. So, do we have questions now? Okay, all right. So next speaker. Oh yeah, I think so.
Thank you, Chad, for giving me the opportunity to be here. I wanted to start by asking you a small question. आपने कभी किसी स्कूटी को गाड़ी टो करते हुए देखा? Have you ever seen a scooter towing a car? So I saw that a few weeks ago when I was on my way to office, and I saw this guy trying to manage a scooter and try to tow a car, and he had this long rope that was connecting his scooter to the car, and there was a car that was right next to mine, and this guy takes me over, and he probably didn't see the rope, it was quite long, and he just went through the rope. And I saw the scooters flying off the scooter and landing on the side of the road. So I stopped, I got off my car, I reached there. The guy was amused, he was just laughing. He was slightly injured, but he was laughing, he was safe. I asked him if he was alright, if he needed any help. अगर उसे hospital जाने की ज़रूरत थी, he told me everything was fine. So he was okay at that point of time. But not everyone is as lucky as that guy was, and we all know that. But before we delve a little deeper into that whole thing, I want to ask you all one question. And that question is, what happens after a bomb blast? What immediately happens after a bomb blast? Chaos. Okay, chaos. What else? destruction.
People coming up for help.
Speak up, speak up.
Agony.
There are injured persons, okay, what else? What happens after a rail accident?
Police.
Rail accident. What happens after a train derails?
Blame game.
Relief action.
Blame game.
Local people come.
Blame game immediately after. Somebody said casualties. What else?
Relief actions.
Relief actions, okay. What happens after a fire in a building? Panic, chaos, same stuff. In the three cases that I just told you, bomb blasts, rail accidents, and fires, what happens to the victims, people who are injured?
Taken to the hospital.
Of course they're suffering, but what happens? Who helps them? Common people help them?
Disaster management teams.
Which part? What happens after a bomb blast, a rail accident, and an industrial fire or some sort of a fire to the victims? Traumatic effects, right? So the base. So I think I've got some idea what you think. What happens to a victim immediately after a road accident? Who helps that victim?
Local people. Trespassers. We have seen that in the
So let's get some noise from the right side. All right, thank you. So I was asking you a very serious question, and the serious question deserves some of your attention because you should know one thing. This Audi has a capacity of 800, I think. Yeah, so there are approximately 800 people here right now, I think. And 15 out of you, 15 out of you on an average basis will suffer very deeply from a road accident in the very near future. Okay? Do you know how many people die in road accidents in India every hour? Every hour. 1,000 people every hour? Who said that? About 18 people die every hour in road accidents in India. Okay, we are world number 1 in road accident deaths. But that is one aspect. That is not as big an aspect that concerns me. What is more important is the number of people who get permanently disabled or very seriously injured after a road accident. And do you know what that number is? 1 person every minute on an average. 1 person every minute on an average gets very seriously injured or permanently disabled following a road accident. I had asked you a question earlier, and that question was, what happens immediately after a bomb blast, a rail accident, or a fire? And what happens after a road accident, as far as the victims are concerned? And I'll tell you what happens in this country. The moment there is a bomb blast, the moment there is a rail accident, or the moment there is fire, a lot of citizens, a lot of people, while there will be chaos, people will run away, but soon after, people will come and they will attempt to rescue and save those who are injured. Okay? What happens to a road accident victim in this country? In majority of cases, there are a lot of people who surround that victim, but nobody really wants to come forward and provide that help. Why is that? You don't want to get into a hassle. What else? Scared of police. But tell me something. Do we have emergency medical services, do we have ambulance services in all parts of our country that can reach a victim within the first 10-15 minutes? तो अगर आपका कल एक्सीडेंट होता है, भगवान ना करे, और आप इंजर्ड पड़े हुए रोड पे, तो आप क्या एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे? You will expect somebody to come and take you to a hospital because an ambulance may be stuck in a traffic jam that has been caused by the accident that you've been involved in, right? So why don't we do that? Why don't we help others? Why don't we help those who are injured in those accidents? Amongst all kinds of victims that I told you about, bomb blasts, rail accidents, industrial fires, and road accidents. Road accident victims are the only class of injured persons. Whether that person is in a BMW, or whether that person is a cyclist who has been run over by a truck, not a single person comes forward to help that kind of a victim. And you very rightly said, some of you, that the big mindset is that we don't want to get hassled by the legal system, by the police. But जब हम injured हैं, we want everybody to come forward and help us, right? Isn't that the irony of the situation? So, I was very similar as some of you are. I'll give you a quick background. I had the privilege of working with a very prestigious organization when I graduated from college. It was a joint venture between the Prime Minister's office and the industry. $40 million fund to promote India globally as an investment destination. So I was very privileged. I really enjoyed working there. I moved to a private equity fund, small boutique private equity fund as a manager. In 3 years, I became the CEO of the fund in India. And one day, I realized what you all have just realized, that while we all expect others to come forward and help us, we don't do that. So I had a 16-year-old cousin who was hit by a car. He managed to lift himself up, take him to the side of the road. He was very, very badly injured. He was bleeding a lot. And for the next 45 minutes, this was 3:30 in the afternoon. For the next 45 minutes, he just kept waiting for someone to come forward and help him. And nobody came forward, and he died. So that obviously, I mean, when you lose someone, that impacts you. So it impacted me at a very deep level. But when I started searching about this problem a little more, I realized that he was not alone to have gone like that. There are people who we see lying on the road, we just pass them by, we see there's a big group standing, so कोई ना कोई तो मदद कर देगा, या किसी ना किसी ने तो फोन पुलिस को कर ही दिया, and we move on, many of us. Some get off and start wondering what's going on, some watch the show. But there are very few people who actually come forward and take that person or help that person. And that's what happened in this case. So that was a realization for me that he was not alone. This happens to a great number of people, as a result of which we are losing young, bright lives every day. And don't ever think that this problem is not going to affect you. Because it has affected people, as I said, from people who are extremely privileged. You know, 2 of our leaders in the recent history and maybe more have died in road accidents. I can think of a few right now. I think Rajesh Pilot died in a road accident. I think Sahib Singh Verma died in a road accident. So, and it kills people of all class of our society. So, unfortunately, it's a big social leveler, as much as we don't want it to be. But anyway, sort of coming to the whole point and the whole story. So that was a big jolt for me. You know, something had to be done. This was unacceptable that a human being is lying on the road and bleeding to death. In some times, in some occasions, asking for help, and nobody actually coming forward to give any help. So I said something had to be done about this institutionally, and I established what's called Save Life Foundation. And our objective was that we care about ambulances, but we don't care about waiting for an ambulance or about waiting for a police car to come to provide help to an injured person. We will do whatever it takes to make sure that that person's life is saved and that person is moved to a hospital as soon as possible, right? So we started by training the police. We realized that in most cases in our country, because ambulances are not available, it is the police that takes the injured victim from the scene to the hospital. So we started training the police. We started with Delhi, moved to UP, moved to Maharashtra, moved to Andhra Pradesh, moved to Karnataka. And then we started getting reports. We started getting reports that in one case, a police officer in Delhi, a constable, had given CPR to a victim and was able to revive that victim before reaching the hospital. I had never heard of a police officer giving CPR to anybody in India anywhere. And those reports started coming in, those faxes started coming in into my office, giving details of how police officers were saving lives of injured persons. But that was not our end goal. Our end goal was that police take some time to reach, ambulances take some time to reach, people who are critically injured need immediate help, and the people who can immediately provide that help are you. So we started mobilizing community volunteers. We started inviting people to come and work with us, and we guaranteed them that if they work with us, they will not get harassed by police, they will not get interrogated unnecessarily, and that in most situations they will be recognized as lifesavers, as people who helped road accident victims. So we brought in people and we started training people. But that was not our end goal again. Our end goal was that trained persons like you are actually able to reach the scene of an accident and provide their help. So how do we do that? How do we provide that connection? So we partnered with a large Indian telecom company and we developed a software, a very simple software, that if there is an accident that has taken place in your area and you are the person who's trained in that area, you will get an automatic robocall on your phone telling you कि आपके क्षेत्र में इस जगह पर दुर्घटना हुई है, 2 जने घायल हैं, अगर आप जा सकते हैं तो 1 दबाइए, अगर आप बिजी हैं तो 2 दबाइए. So that started getting our volunteers moving. We started getting people mobilizing. So what we realized was that after we trained the police, we started training the Delhi police in 2009. And we realized that between 2009 and 2011, police officers and volunteers trained by Save Life Foundation have rushed 1,50,000 injured victims to hospital. But more importantly, while providing some sort of care, either stopping their bleeding or taking care of their spine, or if necessary, giving them CPR, taking care of their airway, various concepts that can be performed by laypersons just by using hands without the use of any special equipment. So last year, I quit my job. I quit the fund that I was heading, and I decided to focus full-time on Save Life Foundation. And I still remember a quote that the chairman of Save Life had told me many years back, which I will tell you and leave you with. And I got reminded about it by the quote that you see here. It says, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." Who gave that quote? There's one more quote that Mahatma Gandhi gave. And the quote is, and hear me carefully, the quote is, "The difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing will suffice to solve most of the world's problems." The difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing will suffice to solve most of the world's problems. And I think what Save Life volunteers are trying to do, what people who have been trained by us, police officers, is exactly that. That they are going beyond what they do to what they can do and are achieving a certain goal for us. We're now expanding rapidly to other parts of the country, and all we need is for people to come forward. We're doing multiple things, and I'd like to address that more in a Q&A format than actually talking about it here, but we have taken several measures over the last 2 years to create a supportive legal environment, create a supportive legal and ethical environment for people of our society to come forward and help those who are injured, those who are in distress, and not just worry about police formalities, harassment, and so on and so forth. Thank you.